My name's Chris Leahy. I'm a promoter for Junkbox. I'm also a DJ and producer, and I also teach DJing classes.
I'm Ben Marshall. I'm one half of Junkbox, DJ, producer and teacher.
TV late one night. There was some DJing competition on, and it really sort of inspired me to get my own set of decks because I loved the way they were blending the music together, and I always wanted to be in a band but never really could play an instrument. I always wanted to play music, and so I got a set of turntables and it all started from there.
Okay man, start it up!
When I was very young, around 15, I was at high school and I got given a cassette player and a cassette tape, which most kids won't even heard of these days. When I was listening, I was so curious at how each record seamlessly mixed together. I was just like, wow, how do I do that? I really would love to recreate this.
It all started 9 years ago. I was working in a bar in Blackpool, just doing a bit of glass collecting, and a free Saturday night came available. So I approached the manager, asked him if I could, put on a night, and he wanted to hear me mix and various other bits and pieces. Showed him what I wanted to do, and he was really happy to take me on board, and it all started from there, really.
From going to Preston College, I was studying a music technology course, and I met a guy called Ben Cookson there, and I got really friendly with him, and he was running a night called Decibel in Preston, and he was helping other people put on nights and stuff, and he saw that I was keen to get into the industry, and he gave me my first set in Preston. It was a great vibe, and I even had to borrow some headphones. That's how unexperienced I was at the time. I've been DJing for 6 years now. But when I first started out, it did take me a good 6 months to learn, maybe a year even. First few years I've been going under DJ Marshall, and I've been getting bookings under that, and Chris, who I work with, has been going under Electro Trip. But since we've been producing together, we've come up with a few different names, and we've been unsure of what we should produce together under, but we've come under Junkbox, which is the name of our club night and our club brand, which we've been doing for 2 years now.
I currently work running a night called Junkbox, and that's based at the Underbar in Blackpool. We also do events outside Blackpool, different cities, also under the same brand of Junkbox. Promoting Junkbox, Facebook, Twitter, internet-based sort of promotions, video virals. We also get out in the street, do a lot of postering and flyering.
It is a full-time job. To fill up the club, we really have to put the hours in. We also use posters, flyers. We try and get them up as many places as possible. And text messages. People always try and get a message from me. I try and send them out once a week or once every 3 weeks, just letting them know that Junkbox is on and who's playing.
Junkbox Radio is every Wednesday, and that usually starts around 8 o'clock and finishes about midnight. It's an internet-based radio station. It's on www.undergroundsoundsystem.com, and basically it's a radio night called Junkbox Radio, and that helps promote the music what we're doing, our music that we're producing, and also the club nights we're doing too.
We've got an album coming out soon. It's going to be called Natural Formula. On the album we have tracks ranging from liquid soulful drum and bass to big bassline drum and bass with breaks, also a bit of dubstep thrown in there too. I think the shortest time we worked out with everything done,
4 hours or something.
A bit longer than that. I think it was about 8 hours.
About 8 hours for a
Eight
full tune.
8 or 9 hours. That's once we've done a few different mix downs and everything. And added compressors and reverb units, and if you're young you might not know what that means, but most people in the music industry know what that is.
I'd lay down some drum tracks, and then Ben would sort of follow in with some bass lines and melodies, and that's how we first started. And then as sort of years have progressed on, we sort of switched it round a bit. Now I'm doing more of the melodies and bass lines, and Ben's doing more of the drum patterns and percussion. We just sort of bounce ideas off each other really.
What we do with our tracks is to get to that stage before we send it off. What we like to do is we like to create the sound through some studio monitors and just get an idea of what level, how the bass is coming through. We tend to mix it down, burn it off, and then we'll take it up to a DJ setup with some full range monitor speakers, which are a lot louder and a lot powerful.
But this is without an audience? Just an
Without an audience, yeah, just on our own, and then we'll listen to it through them and kind of work out what levels need turning up, turning down, or you know, if it needs equalising, that kind of thing. So we'll go back, do them edits, burn it off again, so for a second time. Then we like to put it through a sound system, like a really big, massive sound system.
12K rig.
Yeah, we're very privileged to do that. Not every person can, but we find that when we do that, that you really do get to hear everything through it. And that's a great way of doing it. But also, not just a big sound system, even just earphones or headphones, something that, you know, you still get that kind of sound, you get a good understanding of.
Well, the mix is working.
Yeah,
the best way
correct,
is to try it on as many different styles of speakers as possible, in your car, in a hi-fi, like TV speakers, and in a club, off your monitors, and that way you can sort of get a really sort of wider range, and you can hear different sounds that will pick up through a hi-fi speaker rather than through a monitor, and vice versa. And you can sort of really sort of put your track together a lot better in the sort of sounding before you send it off to mastering, and then when you get into sort of the bigger studios and stuff, your clarity of your tracks is a lot better and a lot stronger, and there's sort of like a lot less work you'll need to do. You'll only need to put a bit of compression on the drums or on the bass lines or whatever. As if we didn't do all this sort of pre-hand, if we took it straight from the studio, there'd be a lot more work involved when we get into sort of the mastering stages at the bigger studios. If I'm performing out live, I sort of don't pre-record anything, don't plan anything as such really. Sort of have an idea of the music that I'm taking and what I'm going to play, but never know any specific order. It all just depends. As soon as you get on them decks, it's whatever the last DJ was playing, what the crowd, what the reactions are, what the atmosphere is like, and I'll just go off the crowd completely. I'll start with one track, and if they're feeling it, then I'll go with that vibe all the way.
That's it, yeah, I play the same. I never plan a set. I usually kind of plan out the first tune or the first mix, and then I go off that. But I look at the crowd and see how they are, and I always try and take a bit of a mixed bag with me, because you never know what to expect. You might go somewhere and they're quite laid back vibes, so I might just go off that and carry on a bit laid back. Or you might go somewhere and someone's smashing it out, so you need to pull out your bangers.
I'm doing fine up here on cloud nine. Listen, one more time, I'm doing fine.
Text listed up now for the emailing database.
I've added more links to the website now that that's up and running.
Cool, cool.
I've changed my link as well, so it goes straight towards my page.
Another thing we need to sort out is obviously the set times for the event. I've emailed all the local radio stations and stuff like that, asking for sort of media partnership. Looking quite promising so far. Music we're producing at the moment, drum and bass, I mean that started in the late 80s, early 90s in the UK, down in London, and the sort of style originated from what's called an amen break, and that came from a really old track in the 70s, just a small drum snippet that now has sort of evolved, and they've speeded the tempo up, added a lot more snares and kicks, and now they're sort of developing music from this one small break.
From the one amen break. And you can watch that on YouTube as well. If you just type in the amen break, and you can watch a little thing about it. It's got all the history on it and everything. It's really interesting.
Well, where's Moby fit into all this? Seems to me he's a guy who fits in the middle, which sort of welded together run-of-the-mill disco, for want of a better phrase, and what has now become club scene.
He's taken it a lot in the live element as well. I mean, he sort of has such a diverse style. He sort of knits everything together, from sort of like house to drum and bass to like orchestral to a lot of vocalists and percussionists. He sort of knits a lot of styles together and has sort of his own unique stamp on it.
Yeah, his album's really good. It's good for relaxing, it's good for dancing, it's good, a bit of everything really. I think he's covered a lot of styles, and with that people have listened and got inspiration, and they've gone their ways with it.
Yeah, that's it. These turntables, Alan Heath mixing desk. You right on the Alan Heath, yeah? Well, if you want to get into production, I'd really sort of, first steps are knowing what you want to produce, what sort of style of music, and then sort of listening to those sort of artists that are performing the music at that time, and sort of really listen to sort of the arrangement and the sounds in the tracks and the rhythms and the patterns, and then sort of go from there really. I wouldn't sort of delve straight in not knowing what to sort of, where to start or what sort of style you want to produce. Always have an idea in your head where you want to go first.
You really want to add to that, Ben?
Yeah, I'd say get yourself a keyboard or a guitar. Maybe start having a mess around with that first, and then get some computer software, just some basic software, just like sampling. If you're 12, for example, you know, something like EJ is really, really basic, and then once you get the basics of that, you can move on to something a bit more to the next level, and go further from there.
I'm Dr. P. I've just played at Junkbox in Blackpool and it was wicked. Wicked. Wicked, 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 wicked.